Hello, my name is Ethan Borg. I'm the president of Ethan Borg LLC, and today I'm talking about angles and tissue angles from the model of Fu Xi Wen. I've previously discussed tissues of the body as anatomical components of the body that are essentially energy that is aggregated together into a physical form that's large enough for us to see them. And I was talking about how tissues have unique fingerprints. And what are those fingerprints? Those fingerprints are angles, essentially. Angles around the body. So, in order to understand angles, we have to understand what is an angle and how does energy align around the body. Well, we live in three-dimensional space. We have a X, Y, and Z grid around us at all times. We also live on a planet, and this planet has poles. There's a South Pole and a North Pole, and we live in between these poles, generally speaking. So we have energy all around us. These poles are connected, they're magnetically connected, and it turns out that our energy aligns according to these poles. And the Feng Shui, this Chinese art that goes back thousands upon thousands of years, is a deliberation upon how energy aligns according to these poles and in space, in three-dimensional space. Feng Shui, applied to the body, is Fu Xi Wen. Fu Xi Wen is essentially applying these principles of how energy moves. And energy moves in angles. It's moving in 360 degrees around our bodies. A circle contains 360 degrees, and we are surrounded by these angles. And each angle has a specific meaning because each angle, turns out, is a unique fingerprint for a tissue. So what is an angle? An angle is the difference between two lines. And the angles that are important to us today in Fu Xi Wen are the angles between the floor, a vertical angle from the floor, whether it's parallel to the floor or facing somewhere between that and straight up, or facing parallel to the floor and somewhere between that and straight down. And the other angle that's important to us is the compass angle, that because of the north and south poles, there's a 360 degrees around north, south, east, west. So if you put an angle somewhere along this compass together with an angle somewhere between parallel to the ground and straight up or straight down, you get a unique three-dimensional angle in space. Each one of these unique angles in space is related to a tissue. Tissues in Fu Xi Wen, every tissue has what's called a tissue angle. And that's essentially what we're talking about, is its unique fingerprint in space. And when I say it's a unique fingerprint in space, you have to understand that the angle is unrelated to your own body position. That the angle is connected to the poles of the planet and not connected to you so directly. So if muscles have a specific angle in space, they have a specific angle relative to north and south, not your body position. So you could be facing up, facing down, lying on the ground. It doesn't matter what position you are, the angle is the angle. That's its fingerprint. If you know the fingerprint of an angle, of a tissue, its unique angle, then you can diagnose the energy inside that tissue. You simply take a tool. In this case, I'm taking what's called a tation that looks like a big chopstick. And if you know what the angle is, so I'm going to angle this at the angle towards bones, which happens to be counterclockwise from due north, 35 degrees, and directly parallel with the ground. This is the angle that relates to the bones. I can feel the bones in my arm, and I could tell you if that energy feels correct, because every tissue has a correct sensation that it should have. That there are 5 basic ways that energy aligns, 5 phases, and each phase has its own sensation to the fingers, and I will discuss what those sensations are at a later point. But essentially what's important to know is that if you know the angle of a tissue, you can diagnose whether that tissue is healthy or diseased, and if it's diseased, you can treat it with the appropriate intervention. Physics has this concept called resonance. Modern physics has this concept. Resonance is essentially that everything has a frequency that it vibrates at. And if you can vibrate something at that same frequency, you will impact that object. You may make it vibrate even stronger. Bridges that have a certain frequency, if you vibrate them at the same frequency, start to shake and move. So, if we apply that same principle of resonance with the concept of tissues, each tissue has a unique fingerprint at which it resonates, then you can interface with any tissue of the body to bring it back towards balance. Balance is health. Balance is the lack of symptoms, and that's our goal.